All right, everybody, welcome back to the U.S. Regional Championship here in San Diego. My name is Corey. That's Daquan. We're going to be bringing you, backwards. There we go. That's Daquan. We're going to be bringing you our backup full match here where we have some spicy ones here. We got Esper Aggro here in the hands of Sam Pardee. Has to be one of the favorites going in. Sam's such a phenomenal player. But tell us a little bit about Esper Legends, Daquan.
Yeah, this is a deck that's really come on popular the last few weeks. And honestly, partly, I would imagine because you get to run 4 Shieldred. You know, we were just talking about that in the last matchup, how much Shieldred is a problem for some of these aggro decks. Not even from being a big body, but just from the life you get to gain. And this doubles down on the life gain because you also have Dreamhack hanging out in this list.
Yeah, and a very good point in saying lifelink here because, well, we have the same deck that we're playing against here, which is mono red aggro, but yeah, all that life gain from Esper Legends could be a little bit bigger of a problem. So Craig here is playing mono red. Tell us a little bit about this deck. I know we just saw it, but there are some differences here.
Yeah, this list plays very differently in the sense that Craig decided to go with main deck Planeswalkers. So where we were talking about our previous matchup, you know, having those Planeswalkers in the sideboard, we're just starting with the main here. And that may be a decision that Craig made because of the anticipated metagame. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, 100% anticipated metagame. Maybe this is pre-boarded to deal with Grixis, but I'll tell you one thing Planeswalker don't want to see, and that's Thalia, which Sam does have. So we'll see how this matchup goes. Let's head into our backup match here at the U.S. Regional Championship.
Yeah, there's that big open sunny room again.
God, looked beautiful. Looked beautiful.
And I got to tell you, it's gloomy outside where I'm at, so I'm living vicariously through them this weekend.
It's downpouring in Roanoke as well. So yeah, we need this sunlight to help us just as much as the sunlight needs to help these players, Daquan.
Yeah, this is actually, I think, one thing I will say is even when you've seen pictures from the weekend so far, everybody's been happy. I think like people are just excited to go to a big competitive Magic event, play with their cards again, and like just kind of get back in the groove of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been so awesome to see even the 1,000-person tournament that was a couple weekends ago over in Europe. You know, I mean, there's just been so many big tournaments here in Paper, and players have just been reinvigorated to come back to Paper Magic and just competitive Magic in general. And yeah, it makes me so happy. Sometimes I could tear up. I'm not gonna lie when I see these giant crowds. It's really special.
And yeah, let's check in with the stream too. Y'all in chat, what deck are y'all looking to really like get you going this weekend? Who are you rooting for?
Well, I think after round 1, it's got to be mono red because wow, that Abel made it look really, really good here. So, all
right, looks like we're starting with the Skrelv, and Craig's checking that out. The text, I think, deciding if he's going to get to kill it or not.
Yeah.
And Skrelv's a tough thing, man, because like you really have to kill it because otherwise you just don't ever get to kill anything else.
Very true. Yep. Very, very true. So here is Blood Tithe, which just a nice 2-mana 3/3.
Yep. And Skrelv couldn't block if it wanted to, but even if it could, I don't think it would.
Nope, I don't think so. Yeah, Skrelv's going to do a lot of protecting here. Something like Dreamhack would be a perfect follow-up for Sam. Just something to gain you life, plus be able to protect it. It is the ideal start against mono red, and you just got to think, like, these situations are what puts mono red in a horrible spot. And Esper Legends was extremely, extremely popular here, I would say, like, last week or 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, it was probably the most played deck. Since then, it has went down a little bit, and Rakdos is our most played deck, but Esper Legend is still an incredibly powerful list, but Mono Red really doesn't want to see it.
Yeah, and this is what we were just talking about, where you didn't kill that Skrelv earlier. Now it's going to be able to protect Dreamhack, and you're really going to have to work to get this lifelink off the battlefield.
Yep, and there is plenty of situations, you know, when you have 2 removal spells, you can go aim a removal spell at Skrelv. Sam gets put to the test. Do you want to activate it now? Usually it doesn't matter because, well, then you just respond with another removal spell at Dreamhack. So it's not impossible to deal with it here when a Skrelv is already in play, but it doesn't really look like Craig has any removal in his hand to deal with it at all. I saw Reckless Impulse and a Planeswalker of some kind.
Yep, and Craig is also going like, no, sir, you got to take that 2 damage first. All right. Now, this is a turn where things can actually get a little bit out of hand There's a Rafine, so also going to be hard to kill because of the ward, on top of Skrell still sitting on the battlefield.
So now Sam's going to have a couple of decisions to make here. Right now, you can attack with just Dennick, make sure to just discard a spell, and then you can at least push through Furnace Strider. Sam could have also activated Skrell to be able to force through some damage, or just playing defensive. Looks like Sam really wants to just try to play as much defense as possible here.
Yeah, and I don't really blame him too much. I mean, you could have got aggressive there, but I don't know if the little bit of life gain you got would have offset how much damage you're about to take.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
But here comes Chandra, it looks like. Going to go ahead and plus, getting some mana. So I'm assuming we have another spell here.
Looks like, yep, following it up with probably that Reckless Impulse. Reckless Impulse being a really cool one here, being able to exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play them. So we've seen cards like this before in Red's history.
Yeah, but getting the clause of not having to lose them until the end of your next turn is actually a thing Wizards has started to go to on a lot of cards. And man, it's really changed the quality of a lot of those spells.
Totally agree. Makes them so much better here. And wow, this is a big attack, and attacking with the 2/2 might be a bit of a misplay there from Craig, because it's just automatic 2 damage that gets to be gained, where if you only attack with the 3/3s, then Sam's in a lot more difficult of a decision if you even want to put Dennick in front of that. So, you know, maybe a slight misstep there from Craig.
Yeah, I think ultimately he comes out 1 more damage to the good, but you did give up a threat as well. So I'm not completely sure if that was the best attack there.
And there it is.
There's Shieldred.
And now this attack opens up the ability to be able to attack with Dennick. Now Rafine is going to be targeting Dennick. You're going to be able to discard a couple of cards, probably 2 spells, extra legends, Skrell, Dennick, kind of be the main ones. You get to gain life. You get to guarantee that Chandra's dead. And also, when you draw those 2 cards, Shieldred triggers twice. So Sam's just going to gain 8 life here. No big deal.
Yeah, so you get 4 off of those 2 draws from Rafine, and then you put the 2 counters on Dennick, which is lifelink for another 2. So yeah, this puts you all the way back up to 15 life, and basically resets everything for Craig here to have to work through.
Yeah, I mean, they have a saying for this kind of board state from Sam specifically, and that is, of course, party time.
Fair enough. If I was on the red side, I would just call this Raisin Bran because it's 2 scoops time.
I like that. I've never heard that before. That's good. I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's just with 2 cards left. I mean, this is just going to be so hard for the red deck to overcome.
Yeah. Nope. Absolutely. Going to be an impossible situation. But, you know, this is a spot where game 1, especially with these planeswalkers in here, which I would assume, you know, Craig's going to know this mono red deck a lot better than I do, but I would assume these are not the matchups for this. Whenever you see Thalia, I'm very selective of the spells that I want to play. You know, I very much try to not run into train wreck situations from any deck, you know, but especially mono red, where now there's going to be a lot more removal in the sideboard. And looking at Craig's sideboard, it's pretty much all removal. You know, there's 3 Rebel Salvos and 3 Rending Flames amongst 3 Abrade, 3 End the Festivities, and 3 Torch Breath. So it is literally all removal spells. So Craig is able to really adjust his deck list in a very big way.
Yeah, this is so tough, though, because you've got 3 creatures on the other side that are 4 toughness or larger. Like, 2 of them are gaining life every turn. 1 of them is enabling the others to gain even more life, and they're all protected from Skrell. Like, this is tough.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough game 1. And honestly, with Craig's main deck configuration, 4 lightning strikes, 4 play with fires are the only removal spells. So you already have to pair. Number 1, you have to kill Skrell. So you need 1 removal spell for that. And then you have to kill Shieldred. So already you need 3 removal spells. And then you have to figure out a answer for this 4/5 lifelinking threat of Dennick. And that's all while just saying Rafine is just fine on the battlefield. So
and the reality is
it's just too much.
Sam didn't even need to cast anything because he has a land that can protect Skrell. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He's got it all right now.
And here we go. We're going to see a bunch of attackers here. We're going to see all these tokens coming in, or the one token, excuse me. And then you do get to draw a card off the Adeline token that comes in. So you get to discard 4 cards. That's more than likely going to be 3 +1/+1 counters.
Yeah.
Gain a ton of life. And yeah, this is going to be a nice one.
So it's 8 plus another 7. So 15 more. It's going to send Sam up to 29. Is that correct?
Should be. Either way, the life total is going to be unattainable.
Yeah, exactly. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Craig's. I mean, you make some blocks here just to not die, but I don't know where we go from here.
Hey, this is round 1 at the regional championship. You got to get your camera time as well. You know, I mean, I'm a big fan of that. Play, and honestly, to keep it as real as possible, I'm always a big fan of just playing until the game is over. You know, the Reed Duke mentality of playing Magic. You know, anything can happen most of the time. We've kind of hit, you know, a little bit of beyond what can happen in this game specifically, but that is a good way to approach Magic in general.
Yeah, and there is something to be said by sometimes you can see how your opponent's willing to play a card, or how they work with certain interactions that. Or maybe even how they prioritize your threats. So that is a little bit of extra information you can take in games 2 and 3.
100%. Yeah, information is always good. This is an open deck list tournament, so it's not deck list things, but it is exactly how a player is going to play against you and what they prioritize and stuff. So yeah, always worth it. And especially a matchup like Esper Aggro versus Mono Red, not exactly the one that's going to go to time. If these players were playing Mono White mid-range against each other, you know, this is something where both players would probably consider, you know, going to just scoop just to make sure nobody draws, because, well, you know, draws are not great in this structure where you need 18 points.
Okay, we're gonna, after all that, Sam is at 29. Craig's at 7. He's taking a look at his cards, but yeah, it doesn't look like we've got a lot of action here.
Nope, not really. And I do like Sam Pardee's list of Esper mid-range here. The one slip out the back is, it seems kind of strange to just have a one of like this, but it is very much for open deck list tournaments. You'll see deck lists that are structured in a bit of a different way, just because they know that players are going to see their deck list right away. And some people trick themselves into always playing around everything. And sometimes that will lead you to losing games. So you actually have some value in having one-ofs like that in your deck, either your main or your sideboard.
Yeah, and that's something that's sort of come around a little bit more in the what we'll call the open deck list era, where people kind of go, okay, well, what if our opponent knows we have these cards? Does that change anything?
Yeah.
So I kind of like the mind games that you're using a tool that's available, you know, to your advantage.
Yeah, totally agree. I like open deck lists quite a bit. You know, I also see the appeal for closed deck lists as well, especially for brewers, you know, people that want to have some cool cards in their sideboard that they don't know about. But it is also just really fun to sideboard in a way that, you know, your opponent has these cards, you know, they're going to be bringing in some combination, but then you see the like game 2 and game 3 juke where like they'll not sideboard in the way that you think they're going to. And those kind of interactions are really fun as well to watch.
So now looking at the sideboards for these decks, are we looking at trying to, I guess from the red deck side, you obviously have to bring in the big removal, right? Because you've got to get rid of all these 4 and 5 toughness things.
Mm-hmm.
But from the Esper aggro deck, are you just maybe bringing in cut down because you're almost already pre-boarded?
Yeah, definitely Gix Command. Gix Command is excellent. Cut down looks pretty good. Even temporary lockdown looks pretty good. I think it's more of a product of what I want to be taking out from Sam's deck, and that's definitely the Razor Lash, Transmogrants, probably Lauren, probably the slip out the back, Ludwig and AO, and maybe Urtai as well would be. So there's a lot of sideboarding I think Sam will do here. I think he'll go basically into a control deck, bring in the 4 cut downs he has on the board, bring in the 2 more Go for the Throats, and 2 Gix Command, and the temporary lockdown, at least on the draw. You know, on the draw is when you really just have to bring in anything you can against mono red that says kill a creature, because their whole game plan is to overrun you. And tempo you out in such a way where they play a bunch of creatures and then they use one big removal spell to deal with a Shieldred, something like that. So if you can break serve in that way and just kill as many creatures as possible, that's usually pretty good for Esper.
You know, I will say, I think Craig is at least built sideboard-wise to have a chance here, because he does have Rending Flame and Rebel Salvo both in the sideboard, so that's at least 6 cards, and he could go with Torch Breath, I guess, if he wanted to. So he has options available here that can really help in this matchup.
Yeah, Torch Breath is kind of interesting because, I guess if you're targeting a blue card, it's automatically 1 mana deal 2 that can't be countered. But you still need 2 mana to be able to deal with Denek. And I think like a Braid just kind of serves the same thing. So I would assume Torch Breath is specifically for the mono blue matchup, but admittedly, that's not a card I've seen in mono red sideboards at all.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Like, both of them have a lot of sideboard tools here. I would not be surprised if this game plays a bit slower, just because you have Craig bringing in 3 mana spells where he's normally a 1 and 2 mana spell deck. And you have Sam probably just bringing in a lot more removal just to play a slower game and draw it out, because that really plays to his advantage.
Yep, totally agree with you. I would assume Craig brings out the Planeswalkers as well. Probably the Squee, although maybe not. That card's been okay for me when I was testing, but I know Craig definitely wants to be the faster player here.
Yeah, I do really like Squee, to be honest. I don't know in particular in this matchup, but just for the deck overall, I have become a little bit more fond of that card, especially when you're playing against so many like mono white sweepers and everything else. Like, being able to have this card just constantly coming back out and just applying pressure is just so good.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Some exile effects can definitely clean it up, but that card can really just run away with it if it gets to connect even a couple of times. Really good against spot removal for sure.
I will say, like, both the players, we were talking about earlier about the players all just being positive and in good spirits. Like, so far in both matchups we've watched, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of smiles and jokes. It looks like, even though it's high pressure, everybody seems to be enjoying themselves.
Oh, 100%. I think especially at the first couple rounds of these tournaments, number one, no player has that huge confidence level of like, at round 1, I'm gonna top 8 this event kind of thing. There's so much magic to play in these early rounds that it's definitely about soaking in and having fun, even if it's softening the blow of not making day 2. Be like, well, at least I had fun. I think that's important for players as well. At least, I can say that about myself, is anytime I enjoyed myself not making day 2 of one of these, it softens the blow. Of course, you always want to do well when you come to a big tournament like this.
I mean, hey, at least you're at an event that if you don't make day 2, there is plenty to do here at Dreamhack for sure.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at some of the lists of stuff, some of the like concerts they have, looking into some of the arenas of other games and stuff. Dreamhack really puts on a really cool show, and I'd be excited to check it out someday.
I mean, we might be losing some of our production team to playing DDR this weekend, so that's a thing.
Don't get me started. That's my favorite game. I'm a big DDR fan.
All right, so here we go. Looks like Craig is keeping, and as did Sam. So looks like we're both on 7.
Okay, perfect. We see a Rafine there from Sam. I think Craig had 3 lands. I saw that. I think there was a follow-up. There's that Rebel Salvo. And at least a Phoenix chick to put on this, which is pretty important.
It looks like 2 Phoenix chicks. So we're gonna come out with a 2/2 and a 2/1 here.
Pretty good. And it looks like I do see a cut down there from Sam. So the bigger one is going to be dealt with.
All right. So we set the first one up. And as expected, there's a second Phoenix chick. Boom, and an immediate cut down.
Cut down's just incredible. It's just incredible in so many matchups right now. It's the best card against Esper aggro in general. So I like that Sam has cut downs available to him. Most of the time you don't see a ton of those from the Esper deck, but even in the Esper mirror, Sam looks like he has a very good sideboard ready for the matchup. I really like his list.
I only have one big problem with cut down, and it's that my opponents always have it on 1, and I never have it on turn 1.
That sounds like more of a you problem there, Daquan.
Oh, it most definitely is.
All right, there is Denik, though. Denik is the kind of the public enemy, at least for number 2. Thalia is very good as well. But Denik really has to be dealt with. And I think I did see 3 removal spells from Craig.
Yeah, see, this is the tough part here, right? Because you can't let Denik sick, but you also don't want to have to use your 5 damage removal spell on Denik, knowing what you're going to be staring down in a couple of turns.
Exactly. Shieldred can be a problem, and we do see it go to exile thanks to the flip side of Kamano faces Kakazan.
Which is a great answer for that. Like, making sure you don't have to deal with it a second time.
Totally agree. Not the biggest card when it comes to these aggressive matchups, the 3-2 side of Denik, but definitely comes up. You know, when you run out of steam and you have just 1 extra blocker hanging around in the graveyard, that's excellent.
Now, I think I saw a Torch Breath in Craig's hand here, and if he has another land, I think we can make a play at Rafine, because it costs you 3 to do. Well, then you still have to pay another one for Rafine's, though, for his ward.
I believe you can do it. I think 3 mana is 4 damage. Yeah, right? So because if it costs 2 less for a blue card, so it's automatically at 2, and then 2 more equals 4, and then you pay the 1 ward, I would assume. Oh, wait a minute. No, I believe that says it can't be countered. So you don't actually have to pay the ward.
Oh, that's true. You don't have to pay the ward. Yeah.
So, yeah, if that is indeed Torch Breath, you'd think you'd want to be firing that off.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but it looked like Torch Breath was in his hand.
It definitely did. Okay.
Okay, sure. I'm not sure why that didn't happen pre-combat.
Nope, I think that was a slight misstep there from Craig as well. Unless really is trying to prioritize get Phoenix Chick into the yard to be able to bring it back and make it a little bit more powerful.
That is a possibility. It does have enough haste creatures that maybe he's trying to set up something for a later turn.
So it does look like Craig had a play with fire to deal with Thalia as well right now straight away. And then you at least have the damage to still be flowing in. Maybe that is a Swift Spear as well, I believe. So it does look like Craig is able to force through 4 more damage this turn.
We decided to pass here.
Interesting.
Now, this is kind of what's the best case scenario Sam could hope for, right? You didn't lose Thalia. You didn't take any extra damage last turn. You've got a lot of choices here. Hope says, are we just targeting Sam?
Is this going upstairs?
Looks like it.
Okay.
So we're just going to put Sam to 9 here.
Yeah, one other play Craig did have available is just using that play with fire on Thalia and then getting in for 2. It's usually the same amount of damage. And especially if that other card was a Swift Spear, you could play that first and then get in for 4. Otherwise, Thalia is going to constantly put this 2-2 in check.
Yeah, and we didn't see a play from Sam, so I'm wondering if maybe he left in like an Urtai or something, and that's why he wanted his mana up there.
Could easily be that, or just flooding, or just removal spells that are there's no point in using them right now because, well, there can't be an attack. And it does look like I see Go for the Throat and Thalia from Sam. Thalia number 2.
Yeah, you're right. No reason to use it on just the Kamano or the etchings here, because until they get rid of Thalia, it doesn't really matter.
Totally agree.
And truthfully, with the Plaza, it doesn't really matter anyway, because they're going to have a hard time killing the Thalia.
Yep. The Plaza just makes everything so much more difficult. What an incredible card across so many formats, you know? I think right when that card got previewed, I thought it was like, okay, this seems like an auto-include into every single EDH/Commander deck, for sure, because it's just helping out with Legends. But then when Esper Legends popped up, I was like, wow, this card is incredible in that. In this deck, and then I'm just seeing so much uses for it in other formats and stuff. So Plaza of Heroes, really, really cool card.
All right, Craig did draw another 5 damage spell there in Rending Flame, so didn't have to worry about Shieldred, which is good because he's already gotten Sam kind of low here. So if you can find enough damage, maybe you could go upstairs. Ooh. But running kind of tight on time here to try to make that happen is the longer Sam sits around, the tougher it's going to get.
So sorry to interrupt you, Daquan, but this is the really brutal interaction here with Thalia still being on the table. Bloodthirsty Adversary was just drawn, which is a phenomenal Magic card. And I think Craig's going through the motions right now. but you can't play the spell.
Yep.
Yeah, there it is. You can't play the
he's
spell.
He's calling the judge to check. Yeah.
So you can of course just pay the 3 to target a card, but then you can't put it on the stack because Thalia is giving that tax. So
yep. I mean, you can put it on the stack. You just can't play it.
Very true. And we do see the second member of the party squad there, their Caroline party. Those two just recently got married. So congratulations to those two. Both phenomenal people that are just great for the community, great at Magic. Always cool to see those two together.
All right, so we do see a Swift Spirit come down. And we're just going to hold on to that, probably hoping to draw another mountain next turn.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, this is kind of, we're like on turn 7 or so here, and Sam's still in this. So this is kind of a good scenario here.
Oh, I would say Sam's still favored, even with Sam not really drawing any other heavy hitters here. You know, Rafine, Denick, any of these cards, Shieldred, all these cards off the top are just so strong for Sam, and eventually we'll find them. With Sam being at 9, Craig can find some spells that, you know, will counteract them, but it doesn't have as good of top decks is my main point here.
Yeah, and the tough thing here is I think if Craig would have found one of his planeswalkers during this kind of lull in the middle of the game here, he would have been much better benefited as opposed to just finding these smaller spells along the way. Because like you said, once Sam starts hitting these bigger hitters, they only have to stick around for like one turn to really start turning things around.
Yeah, I would say this specific game, these planeswalkers would have looked better, but I would not be shocked if they're not in the deck at all right now. If Craig sided them out, and so I think we might be about to see a little bit of a slight blowout here. If Craig did go for it, he kind of highlighted that Phoenix chick in the yard. If Craig were to go for that, then go for the throat plus Thalia being able to eat a creature would have been pretty brutal. So good, good heads up play there from Craig to not go for that.
And you saw how quick, like once other creatures started hitting the board, Sam says, okay, now it's time to unload some of this removal I've been sitting on.
Yep. And there is Denick. And now Denick has 2 shields to protect it right now. You have the Plaza, you have Skrelv, and that's just going to be really, really tough to overcome because, well, that card's going to be able to get in there. Skrelv could at least protect it if you want.
Yeah, and you're going to be able to just keep getting life every turn here. Because, like, Craig's not benefited in attacking because Thalia is still staring him in the face. Yep. But you can start using Skrelv and just say, okay, here's 2 damage. Here's 2 damage. It's just going to all turn into extra life.
And another thing that makes this situation pretty rough, even on attackers, let's say Craig attacks with a 3/3, you know, which could happen here with this bloodthirsty adversary. Sam can put 2 creatures in front of it, the Denick and the Thalia, and then once Craig orders blockers, then Sam can protect the creature that's ordered first with Plaza of Heroes. So these kind of interactions end up just being so brutal.
Yes, I think Sam's just trying to decide, like, what does this card do and can I prevent the damage? Yep.
Yep, protected it with Skrelv. And you know, had the option to protect it with just Phyrexian mana and then leave open Plaza. Decides not to do that. And now if Craig does get in there with this 3/3, it'll be interesting because I don't think Sam wants to block that. So we'll see what Craig does here.
I'm trying to get a look at Sam's hand here to see too if he's just holding another removal spell because it looks like he might be.
Yeah, and that would be great as well.
Yeah, if he's got another removal spell anyway, sadly for Craig, this is all kind of a moot point.
So here is the 3/3, and that play I was mentioning with the Plaza of Heroes could have happened earlier, but oh, excellent. The 1 mana Aganjo. Great.
Yep, that's probably going to do it from here. Yeah, this is just a tough part for Craig because you just don't have a spot where you can kill a creature. And both of all 3 of those creatures are just like massive problems for him right now.
Yep, totally agree.
Ugh, that's so tough. So tough. The only upside for Craig here is that Sam hasn't really drawn a lot to kind of close the game. Well, I say that, it looks like he's just found something, and it's another
There we
Shieldred. So
go.
never mind. Like that'll bring things to a close pretty quick.
Yeah, Shieldred should close this out pretty well. Yeah, and there was chat bringing up a very good point there. There was definitely a missed interaction here. Bloodthirsty adversary cannot target the spell in the graveyard with Denik on the battlefield. So that was just a miss at this point. And, you know, if we are bringing you coverage in this style where this match is not live, so we can bring you the most amount of matches possible, you know, something like this is definitely going to happen. Magic's hard.
Yeah, that said, it wouldn't affected the outcome here at all.
Absolutely not. Yep. Well, it is definitely something that could happen here now, as this is a second time.
But yeah, it's you can't kill anything anyway. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to, but like we're saying, you can't kill anything, so it just doesn't matter. Yeah, Shieldred's now we're gonna go into life gain mode, so we're gonna draw gain 2. Denik may or may not attack to gain another 2. And Craig's down to 1 card. Creatures that can't attack here efficiently.
Yeah, now we're going to see that Plaza untapped with Skrelv, and even if Shieldred just never gets in there again, it's just not going to die. Like, now you can also attack with Shieldred. You can give it hexproof and protection with Plaza.
Yeah, Shieldred's just saying, I'm about to get some. Like...
And kind of putting that Plaza of Heroes to the front because, well, it can't be targeted. It also gains Indestructible. That land is incredible in this deck, and, you know, one of the main reasons why this deck is so good.
Yeah, we have life totals all at 12 here, but I think this is academic.
Yeah, definitely a matchup that I think Sam is really excited to play against, a lot more than what we saw from Jarvis with Grixis. You know, there's no way to really gain life from that besides a couple Gix Command, and Gix Command is still a 5-mana spell, but, you know, from Esper Aggro, having Denik, having Shieldred, having 4 cut down, having 4 go for the throat, still having all the same tools that Grixis midrange has, but has these really tough to deal with creatures, makes this matchup look, you know, really good for mono red in our first one to not so great here.
You know, I will say credit to Craig here. He's at least checking all of his options, right? He's saying, okay, I still have the Phoenix Chick in the sideboard or in the graveyard. They don't have any flyers. Maybe that's a thing if I could find a way to get through for at least one reasonable attack. You know, really at least trying to check things out before just packing it in here.
Yep, totally agree. And I mean, yeah, it's round 1 of a regional championship. These players did a lot to get to these tournaments, so might as well think out all your actions and do the best job you can. If anything, learn to play your deck even better. You know, I'm sure these players have both played a ton, but always better to get proper sequencing done here.
Yeah, so I think that's what Craig's doing, saying, hey, I at least can get the flyer in. It's 2 damage a turn. Maybe it's something.
We saw William Huey Jensen and Sam's side there, looking over the tournaments.
Okay, so we had another Phoenix Chick. Get that in there. All right, so that's
a large attack.
Yeah. Now, Craig knows he's going to lose a creature here. He's going to give up some life to the Denik, but I think at this point, he's just trying to figure out how can I put some damage through.
And here's 3 mana on that. So,
okay, targeting Denik.
Can't be countered, though.
Yeah.
But can still be Skrelved here.
Yep, I think that's what they're checking.
Yeah, and I would think the Skrelv still protects it here. Can't be encountered, gets around ward, but that means you can still target it. But I would assume Skrelv still protects it, although I'm not 100%.
All right. We are protecting it with Skrelv. Yeah. Just giving it hexproof so you can't even target it.
And now you get that free block with Denik onto a bloodthirsty adversary to kind of negate some damage. And, you know, the Thalia outside of that doesn't have a great block.
But we know there's a backup Thalia as well. I think he was holding one from earlier.
Very true. I like this block a lot better. So Denick isn't going to die. Neither is Monastery Swift Spear, but you still get the 2 damage to gain. So Sam's going to take 5 here, go to 7, and then still have Shieldred available to start gaining some life. And everything should still be heavily in Sam's favor. But that was a nice attack from Craig.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones where we're saying like it looked like maybe you should just concede, but he says, let me check my graveyard. I do have another removal spell. Let's get some damage in and see where this leads us. Because now there's at least 4 damage a turn in the air till Sam deals with those.
Yeah, 100%. This is not over yet by any means. Now Denick can get in there now that the 3/3 is sideways. If we want to. And to be honest, we have what, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. So Sam is 1 point off lethal here with the draw step.
Yeah.
So
he just says, here we come. All of it's coming.
Okay, so this will mean that Craig will just be dead to his own draw step here in 2 turns. So now it's just all Sam protecting himself in all ways possible and just plays that other Thalia just as an untapped blocker.
Now Sam is at 11. So there could be a way. You do have 2 blockers. Well, 1 blocker because Grelv can't block.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just see another Thalia. So Sam just drew all the Thalias here, it looks like. So yeah, it depends on what Craig has.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Possibly he could get through.
So that's a Sokensen. That makes 2 1/1s, as well as you can fire up the Mishra's...
The Foundry?
Mishra's Foundry. So that's 4 attackers, 1 blocker.
I think we're just a little bit short.
I think we're, quite a bit short. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, it looks like 9 damage.
Yeah, real close. Just a little too far away. Yeah, if you had another Phoenix chick in the yard.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, this isn't quite going to get us there. So close, though, for Craig. I think we're going to come up 2 points short.
Yep, absolutely. Unless life totals are wrong. It does look like there's another go for the throne for Sam, so we were well away from
so it didn't
actually
matter anyway.
Doing something here, but still a pretty good match.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, give true credit to Craig here for finding a way to at least get this close, right? Using every resource, every card, like giving yourself a real chance.
Absolutely. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have Sam advancing to 1-0.
Wow, that was a lot closer than I think a lot of us would have given him credit for. But this brings up another question now, right? We've seen mono red against 2 different decks, which also happen to be 2 of the 4 most played decks this weekend. So does that mean mono red just in for a bad weekend altogether?
I wouldn't say that because I think the matchup against Grixis looks a lot better. The matchup against Rakdos, I'm sure, is pretty fine as well. It's just Esper Legends that I think is a big problem for these mono red decks. Just there's too many cards in that deck that say lifelink or gain life on them. And that ends up being the big problem. So I think mono red's still at a decent spot, just looking to fade really hateful Esper Legends lists, especially one with that much removal like Sam had. So that is going to do it for our first round here at the Regional Championship here in San Diego. We're going to take a short break, and then us two will be right back here for round number 2.